The problem with most snacks is sure they're tasty, but they're not diabetic friendly. They're loaded with added sugar and carbs that are gonna spike your glucose. But what if I told you I've curated a list of diabetic friendly snacks that are not only delicious, but they're Bobby approved. And how do I know this? Well, I've been wearing this CGM the last few weeks and testing out the foods that we're gonna talk about today and how they react to my glucose. And sure, everybody's body is different, but I think you're gonna find the results quite interesting. Let's start with crackers and chips. And I found a new one that tastes amazing, and boy, oh boy, is it glucose friendly. It's this right here. It's called Ella's Flats. Bonus points, they're local to Florida, which is cool. It's a cracker made of nothing but nuts and seeds. Check this out. Sunflower, pumpkin, flax, chia, sesame, no oil at all. 3 flats has 5 carbs. But how do we calculate net carbs? It's carbs minus fiber. So check it out. 4 grams of fiber gives you only 1 net carb. Unbelievable. Bonus points because there's a lot of flax and chia in there. You get 7 grams of protein in there, and the fat is 14, but that's coming from healthy nuts and seeds. I was blown away. The everything tastes like a spot on everything bagel, but it's not dry. It actually is lovely and crispy and crumbly, yes, but fantastic. More importantly, I ate a serving multiple times the last couple weeks. What did it do to my glucose? Look. Absolutely nothing, which is amazing because not only did I eat it as a snack, I crumbled it on top of tuna salad for lunch too. It's very, very lovely. And this is really important for diabetics out there or people watching their glucose in general. When you have that amount of fiber in there too, high fiber foods are glucose's best friend. It's a glucose regulator. So this is great. Another option, which I've talked about in older diabetic videos, if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, is flackers. I will say they're not as tasty as the Ella's, but once again, they're made with nutrient-dense flax, apple cider vinegar. You have 10 carbs. Whoa, 10 carbs, but there's 9 grams of fiber. So 1 net carb with healthy fats. Absolutely great. Not as good, but still would fall in the bucket of better for you would be the OG of Mary's Gone crackers. Now this is different because this does have more complex carbs like brown rice, quinoa, then some seeds. The carbs are higher. It's 17 carbs minus 3 grams of fiber, 14 net carbs. So I would not eat as much, but if you don't have access to these kind of crackers, this would be your best option. Super tasty, super CGM friendly. Now what about chips and bars? These are the excellent chip that essentially is carb free. It's pork rinds. Now, this is not perfectly Bobby approved. Epic is nice, especially the baked ones because they're not deep fried. They have 0 net carbs and it is just a couple ingredients. They use a combination actually of organic pork, pasture-raised pork, and conventional pork. So you never know what you're gonna get. So if you scan it with my app, it's not gonna be Bobby approved, but it's a better for you choice. And I know there's more like animal skin chips coming on the market, but they're not close to Bobby approved. So this is kind of cool because this is just a chicken chip, but this video is about diabetic friendly snacks that are clean and Bobby approved, or really almost Bobby approved. And the chicken is not organic. It's fried or baked in sunflower oil and it has natural flavors. And something like the OG Quest chips, which I had to stop at CVS to grab. Yes, they're low carb, right? Because they're made of whey protein, but once again, they're fried in seed oils. They have natural flavors and tons of ingredients here that are nowhere near Bobby approved. So I want you guys to have clean snacks, and that's what I would stick with there. And then you can't go wrong with beef sticks, right? We have meat sticks, beef bars, stuff like this. There's a lot that are Bobby approved. I actually love these Epic meat bars here because unlike a jerky or something, it's actually like this chewable bar. And if you want to get the highest protein bang for your buck, go for leaner cuts. So you'll notice how this chicken one says 11 grams of protein. This beef one here says 10. That's because lean proteins, lean meats will have more protein in there. And if you want to have a chip, let's just like you're like, Bobby, I need to have these Mexican street corn chips, which by the way are unbelievable, but they're nowhere close to diabetic friendly. Here's what you want to do. Have your protein first, then have a little bit of your chips. Why? because the protein is the glucose regulator. And if you eat this first, it'll help prevent a larger spike of your glucose monitor. That's a way around it. So when it comes to chips and bars and crackers, those are some solid options. Yogurt can be an incredible snack for diabetics, and they make these small little portable cups that are nice, but I want to show you 2 tips to make sure you're buying the right yogurt for you. Number 1 is it's gotta be plain, because sometimes yogurt can actually be a dessert. So this is raspberry yogurt. Sounds lovely. I can easily eat that for a serving. Wait for it. It has cane sugar in the ingredient list, yes, but there's an added 17 grams of cane sugar. That's over 4 teaspoons of sugar, which is incredibly bad for many reasons, but that's not good for glucose. Even when you buy something as innocuous as vanilla, right? People just think vanilla is vanilla. Vanilla ain't ever just vanilla. It has added cane sugar to the tune of 11 grams. That's 2 3/4 teaspoons, which is so ironic to me because yogurt is a fermented product that's incredibly gut friendly. But cane sugar is the opposite. It's incredibly bad for your gut. So you're defeating the purpose in the first place. And it's only 5.3 ounces. So what do? Well, plain yogurt's the way to go. But there's a huge difference between regular style yogurt and strained. Strained can be Greek style. Strained can be skyr yogurt or Icelandic yogurt. So this is Siggy's. It's a strained yogurt. It's actually Bobby approved, even though they don't put non-GMO on the packaging. If you break out your free Bobby approved app and scan it, it's approved because it's non-GMO dairy. But get this, because it's strained, it strains out some of the natural lactose, which is the sugar in the milk. So this serving here only has natural sugars of 4, very low, but it has a whopping 16 grams of protein. This is the same size and it's not strained, and it only has 5 grams of protein here, which is so much less. Why? Because when you strain yogurt, you number 1, reduce the lateral sugars, which is great for us, but it increases the protein big time. So it's a double benefit there because the protein is an amazing glucose regulator. The lower natural sugars is good for you in general, and you're getting the added gut benefit. But be careful, 95% of yogurts are gonna be flavored with added sugar, and it ends up being more of a dessert. If you get plain Greek strained, it's the most glucose-friendly yogurt you can eat. We will take a quick break from the diabetic video to give some love to the sponsor, which is Seed Probiotic. And my link down below gets you 25% off your first month supply of Seed. I think everyone should take a good probiotic. The problem is most on the market don't work. The bacteria inside are inferior and they will die in your tummy acids. They don't make it to your colon. But look at Seed right here. It's made with 24 strains of custom bacteria that are clinically proven to work for bowel movements, poop, immune system, and more. But it makes it to your colon. The outer capsule is the only one that dissolves in your tummy, and then the inner capsule with the bacteria make it to your colon to disperse the payload. I use it every day, Desi uses it every day, and Rose uses the kids powder in her smoothie. If you're in the market for a probiotic or you want to swap, try it out. Link down below. Once again, 25% off your first month supply and free shipping. Seed is the best. Can you eat chocolate if you're diabetic? Yes. And by the way, now is probably the most exciting time to have a diabetic-friendly diet because there's so many alternatives now that, gosh, if you were trying to do this back in the 80s or 90s or early 2000s, very, very limited. But just to prove a point how much sugar can really sneak into foods, people always say that dark chocolate is really healthy and good for you. And this is 70% dark chocolate, but it still might surprise you the amount of cane sugar that can be in here. So a serving of this has 9 grams of added sugar. That is over 2 teaspoons in here, which is just not acceptable for a lot of people watching their glucose. So what do? Well, I think a lot of us watching probably know about the Lily's brand here, but something happened to Lily's because back in the day, almost all of them used to be Bobby approved. And if I pick up a salted almond 70% and scan it with my app, something bad happens. They're not approved. And I promise you, 3-4 years ago, this used to be approved. But look, they're adding now palm oil and natural flavors to a lot of their bars. Maybe because they sold, and maybe because cocoa prices are the highest they've ever been, they're supplanting it or cutting it with palm. I don't know. The good news is that if you know how to shop or have my free app and you get the intensely dark one, that one is Bobby approved. It's free of those bad ingredients. So that's one really good one here. And there are a couple other. Just check the ingredients or scan it with my app. And why is that good? Because look, the carbs are super low. It's 9 carbs, 4 grams of fiber, and erythritol is 2. So you're talking about 3 net carbs per, and the erythritol is a lower level, which is totally safe. One that I bought and tested, which was quite delicious, was this Chalk Zero Keto Bark. A serving here, 1 piece, only has, 0 net carbs. Wow, 5 carbs and 5 grams of fiber. Makes sense because I not only had 1 square, I had 2 of these in a sitting, and this is what it did to my blood sugar. Nothing. How cool is that? I've been eating these the last couple weeks to finish the bag. I will say, from my personal preference, that the monk fruit is a little strong for me. I prefer it to be less so I get more dark chocolate flavor, but it's very, very nice. Not all keto chocolates are Bobby approved. A better for you option would be something like this. There is a touch of cane sugar in here, but it's still only 3 grams of added sugar and 3 net carbs per. But there are options in the chocolate, but I really think you have to live in the keto chocolate that's sweetened with the monk fruit or a little bit of erythritol. And just walking through this section, it sounds confusing with all of the oils and the natural flavor. So I have this app. It's called Bobby Approved. Of course, it's free, but it was featured on the Today Show last month as a prominent food scanner app, and it has 105,000 4.9 star reviews on the App Store. Point it at any barcode at the grocery store. It will tell you if it's Bobby approved. If it's not, it will highlight the bad ingredients. It tells you why they're bad and then gives you a better recommendation. So it's very educating, and it's like having me go shopping with you. Download it on Apple App Store, Google Play Store. I'll put the link down below. This is a tricky section of the grocery store. It's the juices, and they look so healthy, and many of them are Bobby approved. There's like organic fruits and vegetables, but the type of juice you drink is really, really important. So I did an experiment. This is Bobby approved. It's a organic green drink, but the main ingredients are apples, mangoes, and bananas. So I drank it, and I got a warning on my app that my blood sugar was spiking. So I opened it. It resulted in a 63-point rise in my glucose, which is pretty alarming from a juice. But why did it do that? Well, there's no added sugar in there, but the natural sugars are 37 grams. Sugar is sugar, right? 37 grams is over 9 teaspoons of natural sugar. That's a lot for anyone, but especially someone who's diabetic or looking to control their glucose. Very interesting. So I did an experiment, and the next day I bought another one. I got this, and the main ingredients are celery, cucumber, collard greens, lemon, kale, and the natural sugars are only 6 in here. And this is what it did to my glucose. Nada, zilch, 0. Why? Because that's a little amount of sugar. And both look relatively the same, but they're miles and miles apart. And I would argue a lot of these drinks here, you have to read the ingredients and just look at the natural sugars there. Maybe anything above 8 or 9, I wouldn't have. You could even go lower than this. Look at this. This is lemon cayenne, which is very good for your gut. 1 carb. I think they have this at Costco right now. It's called like Lemon Love or something. Lemon turmeric. Yes, a little bit of pineapple, but still only 5 grams of carbs. So juice, which everyone thinks is healthy, is made of real ingredients, but for people monitoring their glucose, be careful because it can be a wild roller coaster ride. Nuts are an underrated source of micronutrients and they will sustain you on the go. But not all nuts are created equally. Some will be higher carb, some will be lower carb, some will be very nutrient dense. And in general, things like cashews, right? I love cashews, but they're just slightly on the carbier side. A quarter cup serving has 8 carbs and less than 1 gram of dietary fiber, so slightly high. Lower carb nuts will be something like dry roasted almonds. I love, what do you like, raw almonds or roasted? When it's roasted and has that nutty flavor, I love it. And you're talking about a quarter cup, only has 3 net carbs, but 3 grams of fiber. Incredibly beneficial for your gut, but micronutritionally, wow. Magnesium, 20% of your daily value. Vitamin E, 50% of your daily value. Combine macronutrition, the fiber, with micronutrition, just amazing for you. And then also things like pecans are gonna be very low carb, and they're a little pricey, but macadamia nuts are incredibly low carb too. You're talking about 2 net carbs with 2 grams of fibers. Just be careful though, because anytime you start to go to seasoned or flavored, sea salt and vinegar, well, the carbs are relatively low, but there's sunflower oil there. They almost always coat them in seed oils, and sometimes they'll add sugar, and this is a clean diabetic haul. Sunflower oil is a seed oil. Seed oils in general are very inflammatory. You don't want them. Just go for the plain nuts with salt, and that's it. Certain types of cheese are great portable snacks that virtually have no carbs at all. Cheese sticks are great for kids for the lunchbox, but for the big kids too. Organic string cheese with, wait for it, 0 grams of carbs. Cheddar cheese sticks, these are cool, Dubliner, Bobby approved, 0 grams of carbs. How is that possible? Because certain cheeses that are aged, cheddar cheese, mozzarella, Parmesan, aged cheeses have lower carbs, because what happens during the aging process? The sugar in the milk gets eaten by bacteria and it lowers the natural sugars in there. And because this is cheese, we have 5 grams of protein in the stick there. Protein is the glucose regulator with the healthy fat and the 0 carbs. Amazing. Once you start to get to fresher cheeses, think like ricottas and ones like that, they're gonna be slightly higher in carbs, but aged cheese on the go as a snack, that's where it's at. I think an avocado could be one of the best fruits you can eat for diabetics. Ooh, on sale, I got 4 for $5. I have found that whenever I buy avocados at Whole Foods, they're consistently really good. Never like watery or brown inside, but this is a medium avocado. Half of this has about 5 to 7 grams of fiber. When you're talking about fiber from food sources, very rare to get higher than that. And fiber is good for a lot of reasons, but once again, fiber is a glucose regulator, but this only has 1 to 2 net carbs also. So just mash it up with a little bit of salt. I put actually rice vinegar instead of lime juice in there because it's very mild, delicious. And when it comes to berries, we gotta be careful because a lot of fruit in general is gonna be higher. But I like the berries because they're lower in natural sugar and have higher fiber. So raspberries are nice. It's the middle of the summer right now, and I brought over the frozen ones just to show the macros, but frozen fruit is always gonna be way cheaper than fresh. But a 1 cup serving, which I would probably eat a half a cup serving, only has 8 net carbs and 9 grams of fiber. Insane macros there. And organic strawberries, or strawberries in general, 1 cup serving, which is big once again, has 13 carbs minus 3 fiber, 10 net carbs, pretty low also. Once you start to go to like mangoes, pineapples, apples like that, it starts to get a bit too high. So stick to the berries, stick to those avocados on sale, pretty cool. That is it, friends, for the top diabetic-friendly snacks. And I probably should have said this in the beginning of the video. I don't have diabetes, but as you know, because you watch the channel, I tend to wear these from time to time just to regulate my glucose and do experiments to see how the foods affect them. The question is, do you want to see more videos like this? I do have 3 videos previously that have a lot of views. If you want to see more, let me know. If you want to see recipes that are diabetic friendly, just leave a comment and let me know. But that is it. Like, subscribe, share, all those lovely things, but I'll leave you like I always do. Hashtag keep on cooking. Mad love from me to you, and peace.